Marketing strategies are constantly evolving to stay ahead of the competition. One way that small and medium-sized businesses can create a competitive edge is by implementing an effective digital marketing plan. This allows them to access new customers through social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, where there are tremendous amounts of opportunities for engagement. To learn how, we got the opportunity to chat with Eric Fletcher. Eric Fletcher was appointed the VP of Marketing at Ricoh Canada in 2012. Since then, he oversees the Ricoh brand and manages services and product portfolio, marketing teams, marketing communications, demand generation, public relations, and corporate social responsibility initiatives. As part of the executive management team, Eric works with leadership to strategically align Ricoh's transformation to a digital services-led organization. In this podcast, Eric discussed the importance of having a digital-first marketing strategy for SMBs, where SMBs should really start from, and how can Ricoh help SMBs make the most impact with their digital marketing efforts. Hi, Eric. On behalf of Canadian SME, I'd like to welcome you to our Small Business Podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Eric, we're very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. And today's topic is very, very special, and it's a hot topic. Like, we all know that it is no secret that in this technological era, people have become, increasingly dependent on their electronic devices. And the important lies not only with the physical technologies, but also how information moves through them. Like, data gets processed digitally now rather than orally or by hand. So there are greater precision when looking at trends, etc. And this is where our conversation would circle around. That is the importance of digital-first marketing strategy for small and medium-sized businesses. Now, Eric, can you share with the audience, can you describe the importance of having this digital-first marketing strategy for SMBs, and what are some of its major benefits?
Yeah, I think the world has changed over obviously the last 20 years. And it's imperative that you go digital first. And why is that? Because that's how people are interacting with you and your brand and what you're selling or the services that you're providing first. The studies show that like 66% of people will, look something up online, do some reviews, check some word of mouth long before they want to talk to someone and get more details, either if it's in the B2B side from a salesperson or make that maybe all digital transaction work if it's in the consumer space for all intents and purposes. So you just have to be there first. And you have to think of it as it's like opening the door, and you're just welcoming somebody in, and you're trying to take them on a journey that you would like to manage and provide them information on and get them to do something with you online, right? The big benefit you get by going online is you can target versus mass media, etc. So, for example, if you're going digital first and you're trying to sell to or get some information out to a group of, let's say, physical therapists, you can find watering holes, what we call watering holes online, or LinkedIn groups where people of that skill set and that organization that you're trying to go out and target, those target markets, and you can find them, and you can target all your energy and messaging on just that group, because you don't really care if the other groups don't get it because they're not your target market. So digital has allowed you to target very, very defined from that perspective. And everybody sees that when they see the ads on the phone or something. Hey, I just searched on this like a couple of hours ago. Now why am I getting ads for shoes? Well, that's because someone has targeted you and has figured out that's what you're looking for, and providing you the way to get that message across. The real other big benefit is it's data and tracking. You can actually understand how much of your marketing is working for you and very quickly understand what's not working for you and make changes along those lines. And you can't underestimate how valuable that is, because you've only got a finite amount of dollars that you can spend on the marketing. So getting the best return on your investment, you absolutely have to go digital.
You're right. I mean, it is very crucial for small business owners and marketers alike to start thinking about their digital presence as a whole. Now, Eric, where should an SMB start in creating the, digital first marketing strategy?
Yeah, it's like any good marketing strategy. First, you have to understand who's your target market. Who's the people or the organization that you're out there trying to, get your message in front of, right? So understand where they are. And then you have to understand where they hang out. We call those, whether they're called hangouts, digital hangouts, but where do those people go to get their information? And then that lets you start to frame up how you can provide the messaging and, more importantly, the medium to get to them. Because that really leads to the third point is, what do you want to present to them? What are you trying to get them to do? The fourth message that you really got to figure out here is align it with the social platform or the advertising platform, or how you're trying to get to that customer, right? So making sure that the different social media platforms have different ways of presenting the information and different ways of interacting with that organization. If you're a B2B organization and you're trying to sell to other businesses, you might be more focused on LinkedIn. If you're more direct to consumer, you may be more focused on, Instagram and what that looks like and how that plays out, or Pinterest, or what other also social media platforms where your target market is hanging out. And that's the most important thing, is you really have to understand who you're trying to sell to. If you can get consistency in your digital message, that's really good, because it's really easy for someone to flip from one to another different sites. And what they're looking for is consistency across that, so that the messaging is very clear. And probably the very first thing you should understand is your website, right? That is where you eventually probably want to drive people to and get people to go there so they can understand your messages. It should be your hardest working asset if you can make that work.
Now, from a very initial stage, it is important for small business owners to consider the unique challenges that they may face in this process. Eric, what challenges might SMBs face when implementing a digital-first marketing strategy?
Yeah, so the first thing you're going to face is jargon. And what do I mean by jargon? You're going to see a whole lot of three-letter acronyms on what people are talking about if you went and looked that up online, right? They'll use the term SEO. Well, what does that mean? Well, that's search engine optimization. What does that mean in real English? It's when you're on your search engine, you're typing in something, does your website pop up with the words that you're interested in, so that people know to see you, because nobody ever goes by the first or second page of it, right? Other terms that they're going to use, people will call them social media ads, or SEM, so search engine marketing. When you're on, let's say you're on Google and you're doing a search, all those ads that come up at the top, those are what we call SEM ads, right? And can you get people to, click on those? That's another term that we'll use. People call it, CTR, or click through, to understand, the copy or the ad that you're running. Does anybody do anything with it? Do they click on it and go through? We use a term called call to action, right? You want online, you're always trying to get someone to do, okay, what's the next step that you want them to do? If they're on your web page, what's the next step? What's the call to action? Do you actually have something in there? So there's all these jargons that you just have to understand. But when you take a step back, it's really about, okay, so someone is on your digital asset, whether that be your web page or the ad has popped up. Did they do anything? And can you track that? And what do you want them to do? A lot of times you're just looking to have them click through to that and get them to your website, and then have your website have a contact me or an e-commerce engine that will actually let you sell right through off that website or off that social media page, depending on where you start. That's one of the first things, jargon. The other one is, where do you start? Start with the basics. Keep it simple. There's a lot out there, right? You can't afford to boil the ocean because you won't have the money to boil the ocean, right? If you've got a website, just make sure that your website is, optimized for the messaging that you want to go forward with, and then use other platforms to drive traffic to your website, whether those are social media ads, and getting those to come forward. And that last one is really, how do you measure and what do you want to measure, right? And I'm going to tell you that there's a few things you can measure, and I can get into more detail on that in a little minute, but you have to understand what's important to you to measure, right? And that's one of the things, because as you use those measurements, you can determine on whether you're getting good return for your marketing dollars. And that's kind of what the businesses are looking for.
Now, Eric, with so many advertisements and marketing campaigns, it can be very difficult to ensure that your company's digital efforts are effective. And with the right digital marketing strategy, your business can be on top of its. Can you please share with the audience, how can businesses ensure their digital marketing efforts are effective? And are there best practices you'd recommend around data and analytics?
Yeah, so I would recommend a couple here. One is, it's either your primary site, right? Whether that's a website or whether that's a social media site. That needs to be one of those needs to be your primary site for all intents and purposes. So that's really where you're trying to put your best foot forward, and you're trying to get your traffic to go to that site and make sure that that site has a good, easy way for people to scroll through and get the information that they're looking for, and then make it easy for them to either contact you or purchase that right off your website or off your social media site. The second is around analytics, right? If you're putting an ad out there, you want to measure the click-through rate, and what percentage of those click-throughs turn into an opportunity, and more importantly, opportunity to one business, right? So that all the way through that chain, you're measuring those stats, because there's industry averages out there. You can look them up, they're out there. And what you want to make sure is that your digital marketing strategy is at least average, or at least that's what I would argue, right? Try and get it average or better, right? If you're a small business owner, you're going to have a finite amount of time. Marketing is going to be important, and the leads that you drive through there are going to be, very important to you on whether you're going to be able to get your return on investment. If that's how you're doing all your selling, well, then it's going to be, you want to be at least better than average than all your competitors out there. If you're using your website as your first call, you really need to be looking at your website views, time on page, where are they on the page? And there are really simple tools out there that can help you understand that. And then you want to take a step back on that analytics and look at it. How does this data relate to what you thought was going to happen? Like, oh, did people not click through? Or why didn't they click through? Well, why do you think that happened? And then go back and do a test. And that's something that we talk about, test, measure, change, and test again. I'll give you a really simple example, right? When we started I remember our first SEM ad that we started out with, and there was a big discussion that we were using about, should we use the word copier in it, or should we use the word MFP, so a multifunctional printer? And the industry used the term multifunctional printer. And I argued that copier was a better word. So we had this big debate. So we ran two ads, and we determined which ad gave the best stats. And we then went with the ad that provided the best stats, because it really doesn't matter what you think as the marketing person. It's what do your customers think? What were your customers putting in to look up from that perspective? And that copy language is really, really important. And the best thing that happens in the digital space is you get data back starting the first hour you put your ad up. After a week, you should sit down on a weekly basis and look at that data, because you can make changes. So you're not keeping a bad ad running, and you're looking at good ads and going, oh, how do I tweak that to make it even better? So the ability to get feedback really quickly on a digital first model is really important.
Now, Eric, with the changing landscape of digital marketing, it is important for small businesses to stay on top of their game. And Ricoh has created resources that will help them do just this. Can you give more information on how Ricoh helped SMBs make the most impact with their digital marketing efforts?
We've got a few solutions out there that will help organizations, improve their game in the digital marketing. One is we've got what we call content management systems, where you can store all your documents and make it easy for your documents to be, presented in a nice format. And so that helps just handle all the different data that you've got there. And those systems also come with workflow, so that if you need to have a sign off or somebody check it, like legal check it before you put it out, you can put that workflow in, and it just makes it really simple to streamline your effort inside of small teams. The other area where we've got some solutions is how do you help people collaborate in this new world where everybody's working remotely, everybody's in a hybrid model, and we've got a way and some solutions and software to make it easy for customers to help look at digital assets and websites and say, okay, make this change, move this over here, try this, and allows you to edit and collaborate that remotely. So that people don't have to be in the same office. They can be located either different cities around the world, different countries, doesn't matter from that perspective. And then if it's a very specific type of business, so we have some what we call web to print solutions. So we have some e-commerce oriented solutions that are targeted at a very specific part of the marketplace, where we built some solutions for whether it's around digital signatures, or trying to take a document and print it directly to a Ricoh printer on that particular model.
Now, in the year 2022, it is predicted that digital marketing will become even more important than ever before. Eric, on a final note, do you have any advice for SMB owners and marketers who want to stay ahead of the curve and the competition with digital marketing in 2022?
Yeah, my first advice would be to an owner or marketer is dedicate a short period of time every week to look at your data. In the Canadian marketplace, you're probably going to get enough volume of data in a week that you can make a decision on whether do you want to change or tweak or stop or add more money to your model, because a lot of these online platforms are as simple as you give a credit card number in, you put an ad in, and you say, I'm going to spend $10 a day, right? Or $25 a day. So as you're testing your ads, you can then determine which ones are really working, and then you can open it up and start to spend, more money if the ad's working and it's delivering that return on investment. So it's really dedicating a short period of time every week just to take a quick look at the data, and it can be, like 30 minutes for all intents and purposes. Second thing you need to understand is figure out where your prospects and customers hang out online, because if you can't, that's where you start your particular strategy, because that actually lets you know where you can go target, and then you can go reach out to those organizations, and they'll help you. They'll help you figure out how to best make that work in their platform so you can get to those prospects and to those customers. And then the third one is really keep your data clean. It's hard to figure it out, but as people are collecting data, make sure you keep your data clean so you can then correlate it if possible, using Google Analytics or something like that perspective, so you can figure out, is something coming back to your space on a regular basis, but they haven't bought something yet. Well, maybe you need to think about, how do I move them along? What do I have to do a little bit differently to get those prospects to come back and purchase something from your business, right? So those are the three big ones. Dedicate a short period of time, figure out where your prospects are hanging out online, and keep your data clean.
I'm really glad we had the chance to speak about the importance of a digital-first marketing strategy. You also touched base on the challenges SMEs face when marketing digitally, and what solutions Ricoh offers. Thank you so much, Eric, for taking the time out of your very busy schedule and being so insightful. I think our audience would be pleased by hearing from you.
Well, thank you very much for the time to talk to your audience today, and I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Chatting with Eric was a refreshing and an eye-opening experience as he discusses how important it is for businesses of all sizes, small or medium, to have an online presence. Eric has had a long and successful career in B2B marketing spanning 25 years. He brings a wealth of experience from several senior roles for AT&T Canada and MTS Allstream. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please do share the podcast and feel free to check out other episodes. And do not forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine to stay up to date on all our upcoming events and get the top business insights from industry leaders. This is Maheen, your host for the Small Business Podcast.